Eric DeGatti here from One Human Performance, and here we are at part 3 of our 3-part series on deep breathing. In part 1, we talked about the purpose and how this can affect your everyday life as well as your performance. In part 2, we talked about the mechanics and what deep breathing even means. In part 3, we're going to talk about ways you can use that deep breathing in different positions and progress all the way from some basics on the floor all the way to standing so you can use this in everyday life. Our first position is what we call prone, which is fancy for face down. You're going to lay on your stomach with your hands overlapped and then place your forehead right on the top of your hands. By placing your head here, it keeps your spine in neutral, which keeps that airway open and clear for breathing through the nose and down through into your chest cavity. As we talked about in part 2, we want to breathe in through the nose. We want to feel that air travel down into our belly and feel the belly expand into the floor. You should feel as if you're rising slightly off the floor with each inhale, and as you exhale, you should feel as if you're sinking back down into the floor as that air empties and goes back out either through your nose or through pursed lips. Remember, twice as long out as you did to breathe in. Inhale through the nose, exhale back out through the nose or through pursed lips, and that breath should be audible, so if there was someone next to you, they could hear that breath. The next position is what we call supine 90-90, which is fancy for laying on your back with your hips and knees bent to 90 degrees. You're going to bend your knees and put your lower leg on the top of a bench or an ottoman or a chair where you're completely relaxed with your back flat. And then what you're going to do with your hands is overlap them and place them on top of your belly button. That way you can feel the expansion of your belly as you breathe in and breathe out. So as you breathe in, feel how your hands rise up, and as you breathe out, feel how they draw back down. After you get a couple breaths like that, we also want to encourage lateral expansion, which is where your hands wrap up underneath your ribs, and you're going to breathe in and feel that expansion laterally, and as you breathe out, feel again as if you're shrink wrapping and giving a hug to your spine. Next position in this progression is what we call quadruped, which is fancy for hands and knees. You're going to put your hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips with the arms locked out. Feet should be just in a relaxed position. Now when we inhale, the weight of our viscera, our insides, is resting on our abdominal wall. When we breathe in, we will feel that weight drop down, and as we breathe out, it's almost like a little weight to lift where you're breathing out and you're drawing the diaphragm up and in, which draws the belly button up and back, so you feel the expansion down towards the floor and then that vacuuming up and in as you breathe out. The next transitional breathing position I teach is seated, and I teach this especially for my athletes that if they're sitting on the bench in between series or in between plays, this is a great way to recover. You can also use this in the gym if you just did a set of heavy squats. This is a cool way to recover in between sets that's somewhat inconspicuous and is a great way to kind of restore and reset for the next set. In this position, we're going to sit with our torso leaning forward, rest your elbows on your thighs, clasp your hands together, and then rest your forehead onto your hands. That again puts our head and neck in that relaxed, long, neutral position so we have the airway clear. And now when we inhale, you're going to think of your stomach expanding out and spreading out and filling up the area between your thighs. And then when you breathe out, you'll feel the belly button drawing up and in and then clearing that area and vacuuming up away. All right, so now we've progressed all the way from the floor up to where we're standing. This makes it applicable for any time or any situation. So whether it's you're out there in the field in competition or you're just frustrated in line at the supermarket, you can now use this healing breath in a standing position, and it'll help create that shift moving from that sympathetic, overdriven fight or flight system into the parasympathetic, more relaxed system where we're much more focused, more productive, and we perform at a higher level. So when mom or dad or your coach yells at you on the field and says, "Breathe, Johnny," before you didn't even know what that meant. Now you do, and so whether you're preparing for that big pitch or getting set up for your next at-bat, take that nice deep breath, get yourself settled, get yourself focused, and ready to perform at your best. This has been the third part of our three-part series. If you missed any part of it, make sure you go back and check those out, as well as our section on breath match, meaning how do we match our breathing to our specific activity, and then the blog post which wraps it all up and puts it all together along with all the references that you need.